Today, we check the date without thinking. We look at our phones, our watches, our digital calendars, and instantly know where we are in the year. January, February, March. Weeks, months, deadlines, holidays. Time feels mechanical, predictable, neutral. But for most of history, people did not experience the year this way at all. They did not live from month to month. They lived from feast to feast. In medieval Europe, the passage of time was not measured by numbers on a page. It was measured by the rhythm of the church. The year did not unfold as a sequence of dates. It unfolded as a spiritual journey that structured work, rest, planting, harvesting, celebration, fasting, and even social life. The calendar was not civil. It was sacred. And this sacred calendar did something extraordinary. It organized millions of people across an entire continent into the same rhythm of life, even when they lived hundreds or thousands of kilometers apart, spoke different languages, and belonged to different kingdoms. They shared the same year. Long before governments standardized time, the church had already done it. Imagine living in a world without printed calendars, without clocks in homes, without newspapers, without any centralized way to announce the date. Most people could not read. Most never traveled far from where they were born. And yet, they always knew what time of the year it was. How? Because the church told them. The ringing of bells, the sermons, the decorations inside the church, the colors of the vestments, the type of prayers being said, all of this signaled where they were in the annual cycle. You did not need to know the number of the day. You knew that Advent had begun, that Lent was approaching, that Easter was near, that harvest festivals were coming. Time was experienced, not counted. The liturgical year began with Advent, a period of waiting and preparation. This was not only a spiritual idea, it coincided with the arrival of winter, when agricultural work slowed down and communities turned inward. The calendar matched the realities of nature. Then came Christmas, a moment of light in the darkest period of the year. Celebration when days were shortest, hope when nights were longest. Months later came Lent, a period of fasting and discipline that aligned almost perfectly with the end of winter food reserves. When supplies were low, the church encouraged moderation and restraint. What appears purely religious also had practical effects on survival. Then came Easter in spring, when nature itself returned to life. A celebration of resurrection that matched the rebirth of the land. This pattern continued throughout the year. Feast days of saints often coincided with agricultural cycles. Times of celebration followed periods of hard work. Times of fasting preceded seasons of scarcity. The calendar was deeply synchronized with the practical needs of medieval life. And because every church followed the same liturgical structure, this rhythm was identical across Europe. A farmer in France, a fisherman in Italy, a shepherd in Germany, all living the same time, even without ever meeting. Sundays, in particular, transformed the weekly rhythm, one day set apart from labor, one day for gathering, resting, and worship. This created a universal pause in society, a shared breath taken by entire communities at the same time. The concept of a weekend did not exist, but the concept of a holy day did. Over time, this shaped how people perceived work itself. Life was not an endless sequence of labor. It had built-in pauses, celebrations, and meaning. The church did not only tell people what to believe, it told them when to stop. Even major life events were tied to this calendar. Marriages, markets, fairs, legal agreements, and travels were often planned according to feast days. People would say, "We will meet after Easter," or "The market will happen on St. Michael's Day." Dates were remembered through religious reference points. The calendar became the language of time, and because this system was repeated year after year, Generation after generation, it created something incredibly powerful: predictability, stability, a sense that life followed an order larger than political chaos or local conflicts. No matter what happened in the world, Advent would come, Lent would come, Easter would come, kings ruled, wars happened, borders changed, but the calendar remained. This gave medieval society something modern society often lacks: a shared temporal identity. People felt synchronized not only with their neighbors, but with millions of others across the continent. And most of them never realized that this synchronization was being carefully maintained by the church. Because maintaining this calendar was not simple. Determining the date of Easter alone required astronomical calculations, observation of the moon, and coordination across regions. Clergy were trained to track time with remarkable precision for the era. The church was, in many ways, the keeper of time itself. When you begin to see this, you realize that the church was not only organizing faith, it was organizing the experience of the year. It told people when to celebrate, when to restrain themselves, when to work intensely, and when to rest. It aligned spiritual life with agricultural life, social life, and economic life in a way that feels almost invisible today. This is why medieval Europe, despite its limitations, functioned with surprising cohesion. People were living inside the same calendar. And once you understand how the church organized time, you start to wonder what other aspects of daily life were quietly structured in the same way, without people ever noticing. Because if the church could organize the year for an entire continent, what else was it organizing?